Hi guys, I'm not enthusiastic. I can't, all this YouTube stuff. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Oh, you've got a comment as well now. We've been told you've got to comment, tell you to comment, and go feed the dog, take it for a walk, or him or her for a walk, buy the cat and some catnip, clean your teeth, buy some beer, all that stuff. This image is just so dreadful. I'll let you into a secret. It's shot in a thing called C-Log, and that looks like this when it comes off the camera. It's shooting in log is common in the digital cinema industry, and it allows you to get more detail out of your picture, but it does look dreadful. And I've been using Davinci Resolve. I've been learning that, which explains why some of the videos have been a slightly funny colour. So, first things first, I'm going to get a white balance. I haven't done this bit before. This is going to be a laugh. Oops, I can hit the microphone at the same time. There we are. That's a nice blob of white light. So this is a bit of an experiment for me as well. And we now go over to a thing called OSB, which I've had for some time and finally worked out at least how to be able to record to it from the computer screen, so you won't get any of the dreadfully awful images that we used to get with Imagine and Aspire. And I will see you all nicely colorized and white balanced and everything, possibly not colorized, but certainly white balanced and good color, to say bye-bye. But that won't be yet. We'll watch this first. Okay, so you remember this bit from our opening. Well, here we are again. And if you notice, we're in Davinci Resolve. We've got timeline up. We've got, this is the output. This is what's coming off the timeline. And across the bottom, if you haven't noticed, we've got all these little tabs which open different windows which do different jobs. At the moment we're in the edit window, so I could find this point, and we're now going to the color window. We're also doing all this in the wrong order, but never mind. In the color window you'll notice that we have the scopes, or a scope here. It's a parade scope, and this shows us the concentrations of red, green and blue, basically making up the image. They can be useful. We will be glancing at the scopes from time to time, but most of this will be done by eye. Here we've got all these lovely sort of levers and things, sliders to play with, and wheels and all that stuff, and if we don't like them we can change them to something else, like colour circle wheel things. We're going to try to avoid using those. But I just happen to find the sliders easier these days. Well, these days, since somebody pointed it out. And we have our white board there, which doesn't look right. Well, one advantage with this is if we go to gain, we'll find this. Just mention that lift, gamma and gain respond to shadow, mid-range and highlight in most other programs. What was I going to do? I was going to pick that. If we wait for the screen, it says pick white point, so we will. And we're going to pick a white point. That's about fairly average white. And that's now white. I'm working in adverse conditions in that it's daylight and the window's behind me. Okay, right. So we've got a white point. That's a good start. And we've now got an image on which to work. Oh, these lovely levers and buttons, and ignore them. We're going to work across these little things at the top and then across them at the bottom. We will do that once. We will then probably do it a second time. Colour temperature. Well, that should be sorted. The white in there looks fairly white. Tint, it looks fairly white. I look a little bit too pink for my liking. The tint, if I go that way, it takes things into the magenta. If I go that way, it takes them into the green. So we're going to move away from the magenta just a touch. Oh dear, actually it's very sensitive. That's about enough. Now the contrast, as you can see, contrast, what's that then? Contrast, if we can go that way, or we can go that way. We will be going this way towards more contrasty rather than less, and probably quite brutally to about there. That doesn't look so bad. Now the pivot point is a clever thing. It tells us, well, it's moving the point where at the moment Davinci is saying it's either shadow or it's highlight, and the point at which it does that can be moved. So we go that way or we can go that way. There's just no highlights, all highlights. And we definitely want to be, I don't know, yeah, just trying to work out where that, we'll reset it because I get confused. There. So I think we can probably move it back just a bit to there. And I can see a problem developing here. Mid detail, we'll leave that for now. Color boost, no thank you. Shadow. So we can take the shadows down a bit. We can bring them right up. You can see all the junk in the background. That's left deliberately because it's all in shadow, so we can see it. There's no light. The only light that's lighting that is reflected from me. But we could retrieve that if we wanted to, but we won't. We will take that down, I think, to about, that's normal. There, it's just a hint. Now the highlights are a problem because, as I say, we have a problem here. So we'll just knock that off a tad. Saturation, that means lots of colour, no colour. It's a bit like colour boost actually. And if you double click in the vicinity, they reset. Hue, we will need to double click this. What colour do I want to be today? It looks like the aliens have got at me. What's happening to the shirt? It's brilliant, isn't it? I'm going to go through it again. I like the colour temperature and I like the tint. I'm just going to edge the tint a bit more towards the green. I think that's even better. The contrast, probably come down a bit. The reason I'm doing it a second time is each one of these, although they sit individually, every time you move one, it pushes the others around. You don't see the numbers change, but it does affect them because they all overlap. The pivot can now come back towards normal. Mid detail we can look at. See, if I go that way, it goes quite hard. If I go that way, it goes really soft. I do think it's worth pulling up a bit of mid. I also think it might be worth moving this along slightly, just so I can see how that reacts. That's fine. Color boost, I still don't think we need a color boost. Shadow, I'm going to lift a bit. Not by much, but I've just lifted it a bit. Highlight, likewise, I can just lift a little bit. Saturation, we'll play with that from 0 to far too much. I don't think we need to play with that, and the other two are fine. Now, okay, you say, what difference has that made? It's made that much difference. That was what we started with, that's what we now have. I haven't quite finished. This, where you're probably more used to seeing curves, spiders, things like that. What's this one? Key colors, input sizings, 3D even. 3D doesn't work on the free version. This is blur. It's otherwise known as a sharpening or unsharp mask. It's a very clever one in other things. If I play with these, watch the picture. Now I've run out of the black vodka. If I pull it down the other way, and we'll go back down to 50. There we are. If I go just below, do you notice the subtle change in the image? Particularly, just look round here or here. Things just jump out a bit more. I can go right down just to show you what happens if you get silly. That could be useful in some films for quite a hard effect. But I wouldn't want to watch it all the time. But we can do that. We can do this individually, and we'll look at, using nodes, we will look at those very briefly, possibly in a minute. Well, we will, because I want to do something. But that's about it. That's about it. I'm actually reasonably happy with that. I can check that by doing that. And I can say fraction more on these guys. That's quite a lot, actually. Yeah, okay. I'm happy with that. So we will very quickly look at nodes, because there's a thing called a LUT, which I'm just going to introduce you to. If I take this, switch to gallery, I just hope there's nothing in it. There isn't. If I click on that, this thing called LUTs there that we can apply. LUT is lookup table. What I'm going to do is create a color lookup table. Hopefully I can do it without creating a yeah, I can. I don't have to create a still. So we go here, we go away. On this little window here, little preview of that, that's the whole clip. I can click on that and I can say generate LUT, 33-point LUT, and it'll come up, and I'm going to call it, look at it in the folder called My LUTs. I'm going to call it, I'll call it base, because I might, hopefully this will work and it really saves time. So I'm going to save that. And that's me done on this. You know, I was thinking, well, what's the LUT do? What's this magic colour lookup table? You'll find out later. Not today. Hopefully it's going to be very useful, but I do want to check that one and make sure that it does what it says on the tin. Not that it says anything. That's it. Back to the main thing. Now nicely coloured, and so I can say what I'm going to say. I think you'll agree that's a definite improvement, and it's also starting at the wrong end of Resolve. So I'll be back and do some more with this, and we'll look at how you actually get things into Resolve, because it took me a year to find out. Drive carefully, folks. I'm much happier now, and we'll see you all next time.